Good. Yes, I think we are good. Yeah, so welcome to just a moment, guys. Yeah, so welcome to the 8th of our series. As I was saying, that we have actually completed 8 of them. So we've done 4 the intermediate level, and then again, what else to cover, or how we should actually proceed. So I think you're fine. So we are discussing So sorry guys, I think I lost connection. Can you hear me again? Okay, great. Okay, so I think let's just continue. I don't know whether you can still see the slides. I'll just drive them. You'll just let me know. So this new item here that shows this digital work of art sold recently at Christie's for $69 million. And it says here, the winning bidder did not receive a sculpture, painting, or even a print. Instead, they will get, or they got, a unique digital token known as an NFT. So I just wanted to frame that this is a very interesting hot area when it comes to crypto. And it's been in the news and it's making headlines. And there's a lot of money that has been involved in the last couple of weeks or so. So what are NFTs? This is the discussion we're going to have today. And the set of slides that I've prepared are just for that purpose. So we carry on. So again, the usual. And, just I'm grateful that you guys have been part of this series. We obviously are making it available, recorded, and I'm sure it's been beneficial so far. And again, we seek to make sure that we provide this as a resource to help you in your journey in building your crypto strategy. So we're going to talk about tokenization. We're going to talk about NFTs and their use cases. We're going to talk about our usual crypto community updates at the end. And then this is a catalog of the tools we've developed so far. The crypto index, the evaluation framework, the strategy template, and more. So let's carry on. So I think, again, the emphasis here is that as we are learning, hopefully we are able to apply these ideas as we go along the way. So let me just admit Tawanda, who's just joined us. So I'm going to hit a pause here and have this quote as a point of reflection, even as Tawanda joins us. So there's a statement by this gentleman here called Fred Esham that says, everything will be tokenized and connected by a blockchain one day. That's a very bold and profound statement. And we will see why that is the case in the next set of slides. So maybe the first question, which I just want to open up is, and please, we're up close and intimate today. So just unmute yourself and share what your thoughts are. What is tokenization in your own opinion? Or what is a token, if at all? Just to really get the foundations right on before we get deeper into the subject matter. Anyone who wants to give a go to what a token may be? Kevin, Joy, Tawanda, what is a token or tokenization?
So Tim,
yeah,
I'm just giving it a shot in the dark. I'm trying to really. This is why I'm on these calls to learn. But what comes to my mind is a token. Most probably is not a currency. I'm not sure if it could be like monopoly money or but
yes.
something that has got a value, but it's not necessarily a currency. Please help me to get that line of thinking right. But that's my contribution.
Thank you, Bianca. I really like what you said around monopoly money. I mean, if we really think about, I'm actually going to use that example. So monopoly money, what is monopoly money? Monopoly money is representative of real money. Now, when you're even playing Monopoly, you're actually playing on a board, simulating real world things, but on a virtual or on this board that you're using. So tokenization is actually that, which is a digital representation of a particular asset or a unit of value. So this quote here by this gentleman in their body of work called The Tokenization of Everything. So he talks about tokenization as essentially, it essentially entails creating a new form of ownership that would bring unprecedented liquidity to traditionally illiquid assets. So that's what it is actually in very simple terms. And this is economics we are talking about here. It's really bringing new forms of ownership that would bring unprecedented liquidity to traditionally illiquid assets. And just to bring it to our series of conversations, so far we've talked about cryptocurrency. We've talked about the different types of cryptocurrency. We've talked about the categorizations. And I actually just used a broad brush simplification here to say, for our purposes, when it comes to tokens, we need to just be aware of two types of tokens. There's utility tokens and security tokens. Utility tokens are the ones we've talked about the most. They are the likes of Bitcoins. They are the likes of Ethereum. They are actually a unit of account or a medium of exchange. And they serve a specific purpose within a platform. So on the Bitcoin blockchain, for example, Bitcoin, the token, is used to serve some utility value, and obviously externally exposed, there's some value and that people are found in it. And as I said, the primary purpose was actually it to be as a peer-to-peer kind of mechanism. But actually, we have made it almost a store of value, even though that was not necessarily by design. And its value is inherent within itself. It's not supported by an external asset. Now, when it comes to the security tokens, the value is from an external asset that can be traded, so it's backed up and connected to a certain external asset. And that's what we're going to focus more on today. We're not going to focus on the utility one. We're going to talk more on the security token or type. I mean, NFTs are actually a type of security tokens, and then they represent ownership or access. And a good classical example of this is like stocks, because if you have some stocks of a company, then it means you have access or some level of ownership through that token that you have, which is in this case a stock from a traditional setup perspective. So welcome, Edna. So I think that's just, what tokenization is about. Now, the other concept that we're going to talk about here is fungibility. Sorry, guys, I'm going to hurt your tongues today with this pronunciation. And I'm going to again ask the floor your contribution on this fungibility. Those of you who did economics, give it a go. Just unmute yourself and just share what your perspective is on fungibility, because we're going to talk about fungibility. Anyone would want to go for it? Edna, do you want to give it a shot? We just covered tokenization, and then we're talking about fungibility. Or Joy, I don't know, anybody. I mean, just Tawanda, any one of us can just unmute ourselves and just share.
I can Google, but honestly, I have no idea.
when we say something is fungible, what do we mean? What does that mean? Just give it a go.
It's not real.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
It's fluffy.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Good. Anybody else want to give it a go? Tawanda?
Tim, I can give it a shot.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Yeah, something that is fungible is replaceable or exchangeable. Like the example that we were talking about earlier on shares.
Yeah.
Shares can be transferred, but when something that is unfungible, it cannot be replaced or transferred.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kevin. So I'm going to share what I have put together here. So, and it's pretty much really along the lines of what you guys have shared. So fungibility refers to an asset's capacity to be replaced with a similar asset without dropping its quality. It also describes an asset's hallmarks such as divisibility and design, you know. But again, the key thing is about being replaced, swapped around, exchanged, that kind of thing. And we are talking about non-fungible assets. So here's the quiz. Which ones are fungible here and which ones are non-fungible? If just using that definition that we just picked up. Mona Lisa, fungible, non-fungible. Let's see. Tawanda, I think you've unmuted yourself. Do you want to give us a go? So for number one, fungible, if you think it's fungible, put a 1. If it's non-fungible, put a 2. Fungible, put a 1 on the chart. Non-fungible, a 2. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, consensus is it's non-fungible. Okay, that's Mona Lisa. Number 2, the picture of Mandela, not the picture, currency, 50 bucks. Sorry, it's not the picture because those will mean 2 different things. Okay, so the first one definitely is non-fungible. Number 2, again, fungible 1, non-fungible 2 for item number 2 on the screen. Just type it on the chat again. Okay, so that's a 1, it seems. Okay, very interesting thinking. Okay, it's a 1, consensus. Number 3. Now, I'm not talking about Lionel Messi. I'm talking about the specific shirt he's wearing at a specific game. Is that fungible or non-fungible? So it's a 1 for fungible, a 2 non-fungible. Lionel Messi, his t-shirt number 10 on a specific game that he's playing. Is that a 1 or a 2? Okay, just type it on the chat. Okay. Okay. I just need one. Okay, a few more people just to add on to that. Is it a 1 or a 2? Fungible, non-fungible? Okay. Okay, consensus, it's a 2. It's non-fungible. And then lastly, number 4, Bitcoin. Is it a 1 or a 2? Fungible, non-fungible? Okay. Okay, great. Agreed. It's a 1. It's fungible. Excellent. So we've actually got that right. And I think we've got the concept because again, I didn't want this to be something that would be scared by just terminology because again, this is economics. Now, again, this in a very simple way, examples of fungible and non-fungible tokens, exactly currency, whether it's crypto or dollars or fiat currencies, absolutely fungible. You can swap $1 for another. You can swap R1 for another. You can swap 10 shillings for another. You can swap 10 euro for another, and so on and so forth. Crypto kitties, we'll talk about that, you know, which is a big phenomenon in 2017 of virtual cats, which apparently are non-fungible. And then art, the Mona Lisa definitely falls in the category of non-fungible. I mean, property, tangible assets like property, like houses, you know, yachts, whatever it is, also falls in the category of non-fungible. Now let's carry on. So non-fungible assets or NFTs, non-fungible tokens, sorry for this mouthful word, are the digital illustration of unique assets. NFTs are a more distinct asset class that could change more use cases than native blockchain tokens or other fungible tokens. So again, we are building concept upon concept. Last week, we talked about decentralized finance. Today, we talk about non-fungible assets or tokens. And again, they're just a unique asset which sits on top of the blockchain, if we put it that way, and it's just another type of a token. And here is another opportunity for innovation that we see in this platform. And as you remember from the quote, anything and almost everything will be tokenized in future. Your house will be tokenized, your watch will be tokenized, your cat will be tokenized, so you'll have a digital virtual representation of that. So what are some of the characteristics and benefits? So the characteristics of non-fungible, as mentioned in the definition, is that they are indivisible. You can't divide it. Like you can't take a cat and split it in a virtual cat or whatever, real cat, whatever, and split it into pieces. It's uniquely identifiable and it's non-interchangeable. You can't take one and exchange it for another. Whereas I could take $10 or 10 euros or 10 rand or 10 Bitcoin and exchange it for another set and it will be exactly the same thing. This is unique. And it's actually also limited, mostly it's limited. And then the benefits, it's obviously also easily transferable because it's on a digital platform. There's an element of trust and we can be able to prove ownership. We can say this item, this artwork, it was created, it's at the Louvre, the signature of this, and obviously there's unique information that would be stored on the blockchain that actually identifies that this is owned, or it actually signifies the uniqueness of that particular asset. Now, these are some of the terminologies which I'm just going to mention. I mean, there could be more, but I just thought to keep it because it's just an introductory session on NFTs. Minting is a terminology that is used to mean the creation of NFTs or a non-fungible token on the blockchain. So it's a creation and publishing it on the blockchain. And once it's published, it's there and it's there and it's there and it has a timestamp, it has a unique code, it has metadata or information about it that details who owns it. It details all other information about its origins and so on, as obviously the creators of that would have it. And then there's what you would call collecting, which is a big thing, which is people going around. For example, if we talk about Lionel Messi's shirt, if he was playing in, Kevin, you'll help me on this one. He plays for what? Is it Barcelona, right? What's the name of the stadiums? I don't know. Like, I'm not a soccer fan necessarily. Like, guys, I mean, you guys who love soccer and maybe might be fans, give me a stadium, like the Arsenal, not the Arsenal stadium. There's one of the stadiums, for example, in England or whatever. So if he was playing a specific game against a certain team, maybe Tawanda, help me out.
Yeah, I'm Arsenal. Why are you saying not Arsenal?
Okay, fine. So you see, like for fans who are diehard fans, they may want to just have that as a collector's item. Their T-shirt, or their shirt, their jersey, let me put it, that they wore at a certain game, in fact, maybe for a certain section, maybe for the half, they changed it to another one. And they will now frame it and say, no, this is a collector's item. And then they have a digital representation of that on the blockchain that says, I actually own this, I bought this for X. And I actually, if they so choose, they can actually sell it also in the marketplaces, as we'll discover. Now, and I'm just mentioning to us that this has been hot. Why? One, from an innovation perspective, there's probably an element of hype, to be honest. I mean, it's fetching 69 million for, the one that we mentioned earlier, just an NFT. And it's like, yeah, you really look at it and say the real world value, is it really worth that much? But there's obviously a lot of excitement around this area because there's a lot of things that can be developed. Now, if you look at here, the different categorizations, I mean, we think about fungible, which we've talked about, including gold and so on. And then, there's also categorization between tangible versus virtual. And then even including virtual cats, the CryptoKitties, copyrights, it's something you can't touch, but somebody owns this song, they own this piece of art or this picture that they created or whatever it is. It's something that you can't really touch. But it's there, you can see it. But of course, to Bentleys and, paintings and title deeds, certificates. I mean, a good example is your degree, your diploma. that's non-fungible, you know, so it's not something that you can now split or cut and all of that. It's actually unique with a unique identifier. So these are just, again, where this fits in within the asset classes traditionally. So yeah, and then again, where are the use cases of this? There's a lot of extensive use cases. Some have led the way, like in art. There's been a lot. I mean, the example that we mentioned here, and even the one I'll talk about later at the end, which fetched a pretty sum. The arts, the video game space, you know, there's a lot of on-take of this concept, bringing all these assets into the blockchain and obviously releasing and unlocking the value as we learned from the definition. And then other areas like real estate slowly are coming on board, but very slowly. And then, of course, you know, the virtual worlds that you'd have, whether those are via virtual reality and so on, where you have online games and players and simulations where you can actually, you can have stake in those. So there are companies who are developing products around those as well. So if you're a gamer, you're somebody into art, real estate, all these kind of things, you know, and again, the on-chain is obviously fully digital. The off-chain is things that would be in the real world and tangible and so on. So again, the ecosystem is growing. There's a lot of things happening in this space. Publishers like CryptoKitties, which ran on Ethereum, infamously, you know, causing an inflation of the cost of whatever they call gas. And then there are marketplaces where you can actually look for these things, like OpenSea is among the leaders, Open Bazaar, and so on. So it's different from what we've been used to as our coin market cap and so on. But I mean, I think CoinGecko lists them and so on. But I mean, you'll find that there are marketplaces that also list these NFTs specifically, you know, where curators, collectors would actually go and find them. And then, of course, we look, I mean, infrastructure, resources, and so on. So this is a developing space, if I may put it that way. So as I said, I actually warned and I said this is going to be a bit of a slide-heavy, you know, session today, because just really setting the foundation and just giving a view of what is happening in this space, you know, with the sense that obviously it's something that we can all be aware of and begin to do a little bit more reading and research around. So I'm going to just so in terms of what does that really mean from a practical perspective, and you know, for depending on what your area of interest is, if you're interested in art, you can, you know, be a collector. You can begin to really look out for interesting artifacts or arts and begin to make your collections and begin to mint those things and make them, you know, available on the blockchain, showing clearly that this is something that you own, or if you can buy it, obviously. You know, or if you're a creator, you begin to create and you're able to list your material. In fact, I think I forgot to include that for those who are in the creative space, because this is really a big deal for creators. If you're because I think the biggest challenge that this tries to speak to in part is the whole use case around copyright and ownership and actually traceability, which anyway, blockchain speaks to generally. But also unlocking value in that with attribution. If you talk about copyright and royalties and whatever it is that is due to somebody, this kind of tries to unlock some of that. But it's not limited to that, as I mentioned, because it extends even to things like property and games and so on. So again, how would it be relevant, and how, you know, can an ordinary retail person or a person like you and me be involved in? Similar to how we would buy Bitcoin and just hold, we could also do the same here. You know, if it's not just for sentimental purposes, then you can actually buy and hold and keep with the prospecting that this thing will actually attract more value in future, and you can sell it in the marketplaces that would be available to people who would be interested in that. And then, of course, there's also opportunities to build on the concept of DeFi, as we mentioned. And there's a lot of other things that are happening, you know, like the NBA in particular are making it possible or develop. I mean, I think they have not really released it fully, where you can be a participant. You can actually be, you can actually have some NBA tokens, whether that would be a player or whatever the case may be. I mean, some of them have not been fully defined. So there's quite a lot of developing use cases, if I may put it that way. So I think I will pause here and just mention some of the highlights. If you have a question, of course, please feel free to unmute yourself and just really go ahead and ask your question. But as you can see on the screen, so I mean, you just go ahead and mute yourself or put your hand and then ask your question, and I'll give you the floor. You can see, I mean, from the example I mentioned, CryptoKitties ended up netting a total of about 38 million in 2017. The second one is actually crazy because the first tweet by the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, it has been in the bidding the last few weeks of March. And I think the highest bid was 2.9 million for his first tweet. There's a Picasso bull art piece which sold for 55K in 2020. And the record has been broken actually by the one by Beeple, which is an NFT that sold for actually 69 million at Christie's recently, I think in the past week or two, you know, and it's really crazy. And you'll see it, the work. I'll show you the picture of that shortly. Is there any question so far before I continue? I know it's a lot of theory mostly, but yeah, that's the nature of where it is at the moment. So this is the crazy $69 million worth of NFT that by this artist called Beeple, which is called the Fast 5,000 Days, whatever, you know, and that's his collection. I mean, I think they have challenged themselves to create every day, and then the first 5,000 is what they curated here, and then was auctioned at the Christie's, the famous Christie's. And apparently it's been bought by, you know, non-traditional art collectors, you know, it's millennials, younger people who could identify with this old craze and just really put in 69 million, you know, for it. So yeah, I don't know what their motivation is, whether they're gonna sell it in future or they're just keeping it as a collector's item. Any questions before we, this is gonna be, like, as I said, it's not, it's mostly just a lot of theoretical concepts. Any questions before I transition? This is gonna be quite a short session today. Yeah.
Tim, not a question, but just a comment. There's
Yeah.
a lot of money out there in the world.
Yes. 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 What do you guys make of all these headlines, like CryptoKitties, virtual cats? Yeah.
If people are prepared to pay that kind of money for these things, there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. I'm just stunned. I'm in shock.
Yeah. No, personally, I, to be honest, the other topics we can relate with, like, yeah, you buy Bitcoin, hold it, whatever. But these are developing area. It's a new area. It's going crazy. There are all sorts of use cases, as I mentioned here. But as you can see, there's just a lot of things happening, you know, in the innovation space for people who are investing. Of course, there are all these marketplaces, infrastructure, publishing, you know, and most of this run on Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum has probably really done the most, because again, it's the blockchain, which is the primary layer, which is infrastructure. And then sits on top of that is just the intelligence, which is what we will call smart contracts. And then now the concept of, oh, okay, we can be able to list this thing, publish it, you know, denominate an owner, create some metadata or information around it to say so-and-so owns it, or this was actually painted under, I don't know, it was created for over a period of 5,000 days, blah, 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 you know, information. That's what is published, and people will pay 69 million for it. Well, welcome, Chamu. Sorry, we just at the pause section, we've talked about NFTs, we've talked about the use cases, we've talked about some of the crazy amounts of money that people have paid for some very, let me see. Okay, let me just see. Yeah, we've talked about quite a number of things, the characteristics and so on. And again, I mean, it's not really a complicated concept, but in terms of really how much money this has attracted, you know, it's crazy, you know, when you think of, let me just maybe show this to Chamu for the sake of him and just being aware of what the concept is about. So we talk about
Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate it, but don't let me stop the progress for everybody. I'm quite happy to catch up with the notes that you sent afterwards. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and we actually, you know, it's a slide heavy session today. Sorry. So, and yeah, so all these unique assets, and you'll just see it. I think you'll catch up. You're in good time just to see the crazy amounts of money. I think this table gives you a summary of where non-fungible tokens versus fungible fits in. As you can see, the examples of money, which is obviously change, oil, dollars, which are fungible, and then obviously things which are, can be exchanged or swapped around, including the crazy ones of the cat. And the value of that in the real world, which I think is what I was showing here to say, yeah, those crazy amounts. I mean, 2.9 million for a tweet, 55K for a piece of art. And the crazy one, which is at Christie's, 69 million for this creation here, which I was showing. This thing, somebody paid $69 million for it. So, yeah. So I agree with you, Bianca, that there's a lot of money. I don't know, any other comments from just what you're hearing? Because this is pretty much really what the slides are about before we transition to the next section. It's a lot of just foundational ideas of what's happening. And again, we don't know how far this will go. There's a lot of development into other sectors and sections. Anybody else want to just comment? It could just be a comment, maybe just an observation or what you're making of this.
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for the presentation. I must say, these NFTs, they just show how much imagination and potential there is behind this whole digital currency and tokens and this whole new space that the world is exploring. It's virtually, it is a virtual environment, and there's so much value behind it. I mean, who would have known that art can be sold digitally on such platforms? It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, again, you've actually used the right word. The imagination is the limit here. So because I mean, the premise was anything and probably everything can be tokenized. You have it represented in virtual form, and the value of it is unlocked for people to trade, for people to collect, for people to create into, for people to be able to be able to track their ownership and so on. So I think that's really it. Anybody else before I just transition? I think if there's anybody else who has a comment. And again, this is the last of our intermediate session. So if we're gonna do an advanced class, we're gonna probably be a little bit more. We'll seek out a bit more hands-on use cases that we could be useful for us to think about. But yeah, that Barcelona t-shirt, or is it Arsenal, Tawanda? You may want to really secure it for now when it's still cheaper. Some people will be crazy in the future. They want to buy it from you for a lot of money, So,
no, I totally understand. And yes, I have number 14 Thierry Henry's shirt.
So yeah, you just need to make sure you're on the blockchain, that you actually own the specific one for a specific game. When Thierry was playing, maybe even when he was playing the World Cup, when France won the World Cup in, I don't know, was it 98 or something? I can't remember. It could be something.
You're correct. It's the value behind the player having won it and won a game at some point. That's the value of that regalia. So I do understand what you mean when you say NFTs, when you speak about NFTs. Yeah.
Excellent. I think you've given us the summary for today, which is, this is an introduction. And again, it's a concept. And obviously, thankfully, it makes sense in the real world. We're able to see where, based on passion or interest, or even in terms of our strategy, where that might fit in. So the question is, do you know what to do next? And again, as we did last time, that's a question for you to reflect, to pose as we move on to the next set. So again, I think the next section is really just about our ongoing value add. And I'm just going to emphasize that. And thank you for those who were able to join into the community. We're still crafting some of those things that we mentioned. And the goal is really to try to add more value. And thank you for those of you who have also been sharing, sharing this material, whatever it is that you're learning on crypto. I think I'm gonna just make sure today that I get to share the link early enough, even before as I get to that. Apologies from Julia. She's not able to join us today because of something that just came up at the last minute, but let me just publish this. How do I do it? Let me send this to the chat. I'm gonna share the link to everybody for our Telegram channel for those of you who would like to join. So at least we'll have enough time. And again, it's very simple. I know not all of us are familiar or may already be on Telegram, but it's actually very simple. You just install the app, the Telegram app from the stores, whether it's your Android or iPhone. And what we are seeking to do is to provide a more interactive format that has more information that will be relevant. Even like now NFTs, I'm going to share a lot more, like the links, the marketplaces where you can get them. It's just some additional information as I read and I also learn. And this is really the idea. So I've shared this link for you within the chat. So you're most welcome to have that. And it's also available on email just for the sake of the fact that this session will be closed and obviously the chat will not be available. So again, I think I've talked about this. Again, the whole idea here is really just to operationalize or give wheels to your strategy, which we've been working on for these last 8 episodes. Now, I want to major on the last section, which we'll get to around what are the next steps. But again, this is just a highlight. I think you've seen this slide a few times, which just shows the value adds that we're seeking to bring. There's a few more which are still in the background, which we're going to make available as we are able to bring those to bear. So I think I mentioned our vision, which is to make sure that this is accessible to everybody, ordinary people across our continent. We are not going to be, we just want to be resourceful and add value. And then again, this is the schedule we're still working with. There's some shifts which I will share maybe in the next set or maybe via email. But pretty much it really covers, information and insights, the index, which I think I'll show you the template next. And then, of course, some input from the community. And of course, the Wednesday session, which has been our signature point of connection. So I think from a resource perspective, I think this was the template which I mentioned. I want to apologize that I didn't really get to send it as I had thought, because it's just something I'm trying to refine and to make it very simple and easily usable for all of us. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit more time than usual on this section here. And I would almost want to say that everybody who's been able to be part of the sessions, whether you attended one or all, or just some, I really would value your inputs on the 8 or any of them that you can, how it's been for you and what you think should be the next steps. Because I obviously ran this with the goodwill of the community. I'm not just doing this for myself. I'm doing this in as much as I'm a very big beneficiary of it, because I'm learning a lot as well as you are. I just want to really get input. What topics do you guys want? What do you feel should be the next steps? And let's just open it up, let it be a discussion for the next 15 minutes or whatever, however long that we have, just to see how we can shape this thing and take it forward. I'll share some of the thinking that I have as next steps, but I think I want to get your input first, because the next level really will be from notionally, maybe advanced, building on the previous concepts and taking them forward. Yeah, let me pause there and hear from the floor. Any thoughts, comments, and input to shape what should happen next?
Yes, Tim.
Yeah.
I heard about, this gentleman, Tika Tiwari or Tawari. I'm sure you know about him, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's about to unleash again, because he was one of the leading investors in crypto, and he even predicted that Bitcoin would increase in astronomical value and from when it started. And I think on a yearly basis, he keeps having these predictions. And actually, I think tonight he's having a similar stunt again at another coin. And what I heard in that presentation that he was making about the announcement, he said there is a way that one needs to reflect and think about investing in these coins to look at a particular set of coins. So I think like the ones which maybe have the same structural, I don't know whether I call it, whether it's blockchain or the way they're set up, you know. So to look at a cluster instead of like one coin at a time. So maybe one could look into those ways or means of investing or channels where one start looking at not just one coin like Bitcoin, but these other coins that are virtually not really popular yet, but that have a similar or common basis, and to determine how one analyzes them. Because I think, as that gentleman was saying, this is where you start really understanding the value of these coins rather than looking at them individually. So it might be a way maybe for us to invest more into, and also look at how to understand the coins when you look at them in a cluster format than just individual coins.
I really, really like that contribution and input, Jeremy, because I think we had a conversation. It was a side conversation with Tawanda, and he was kind of alluding around that direction. That's why even the whole idea of the index is to cluster it and group it and say, maybe from a technology perspective or a use case perspective, to say this is a smart contracts play, for example, or this is a peer-to-peer kind of cluster. So you're able to look and say which one has the highest potential within that, or are you able to spread your risk across each one of them? Because you'll find some of them are more serving from a utility perspective. Maybe they prioritize security, for example. So you get a cluster of those ones. I really like that idea. I really like it, and I think I'm going to take it on board as input to what we should look at next and share in our future sessions. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Anyone else who wants just to make input?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I joined a bit later on, so I still have to listen to some of the earlier recordings. But I mean, I don't think I'm at an advanced level yet, just because I still have a lot to catch up. But it's been very interesting, very eye-opening. Yeah, and I think it's just a job very well done. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Edna. It's good to hear that. Again, I started this on a hunch, by the way. There was no formula. It was like, okay, just do the first four and see what happens. I remember talking to Diana and I said, I think I'll probably prepare 4 slides and just talk about it and see what happens, you know. So there wasn't any particular destination. It was just to say, look, I just wanted to share what I knew and share it to those people who and those people who also knew something to add to that. And I mean, the presentation last week by Diana was absolutely phenomenal. It was fantastic. I'm going to share the full cluster of recordings. Thankfully, we have all of them. Any other input? Thank you, Edna. Any other input?
Hi, Tim. It's Chamu here. I just want to say a big thank you to you, Diane, and everybody else who has provided information and input in these meetings. I mean, they've been really eye-opening for me personally, and I think I've learned to hang off a lot. It just boosted my confidence in this whole world of cryptocurrency, and it's something that is becoming a part and parcel of our lives, and we cannot ignore it anymore. So what you guys have done has really been helpful, and it just helped me kind of create or get a good foundation on which we can move forward. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Chamu. And you have actually been very consistent. You've attended, in fact, I think all of the sessions. Yeah, you have, you know, and I really appreciate that, because it's a community-driven thing, you know. And I really appreciate, thank you for your comments, and thank you for the support all along, you know. Any other comments, any other input, you know, ideas for how we develop this further, you know, input on what we need to include, comments and feedback, any of those. Just unmute yourself and go ahead. We have time. We have, I think, 9 minutes to go before we close.
Hi, Tim. Well, like I said to Diana last week, I think I'm still going to say exactly the same to you. What the sessions have done for me basically is open my mind to a whole different way of thinking. I was one not to really look into crypto, and yeah, so it's definitely a lot of questions that I still have, but I think it's the beauty of getting to know, of getting into a thing that you know nothing about. So it's been an interesting journey so far, and yes, I I like it. I will try and get answers and let it continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tawanda, and thank you. You've also been a champion. I know you've signed up some people in Australia, and you're spreading this gospel, this message. Because I mean, I think we are privileged as a generation to be aware and to have access to such an opportunity that could be absolutely transformational. Any other comment? I mean, we still have time. We have about another 7 or so minutes. So please don't be afraid to feel you'll hog the time for anybody. There's enough room for each one of us to say something if you wish to do so. Anyone else?
Tim?
Tim. Oh, okay.
Okay, ladies
Just
first.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Bianca?
Can I?
Yeah.
So my question would be, I obviously came in very late, and because of other stuff, I missed some of the modules. But I was thinking, if
I think I'm missing what you're saying. I don't know whether it's me.
into the community, is it my internet, or didn't you understand the question?
I didn't hear everything. Just maybe repeat it again. Sorry.
Okay, so for someone that is a newcomer to the community, is there a starting point?
That's a good one. So I think I don't want to assume that question, because you're actually right, because right now we're on number 8. So if you joined at number 7, you'll actually be overwhelmed and you will not even know where to start. So I think it might make sense to communicate and say, we have the series, all of it, and I'll make it available as recordings for somebody to review. And because we've followed a very progressive view. So the first 4 are foundational. We introduce what is cryptocurrency and carry on, and then we build on those concepts. And even the next ones will actually build on what we've learned before. So, and I think maybe just to really tie everything together is to say, where do you go for what, in terms of help and, clarification and so on. And that's why, the idea of the Telegram channel is there to try to speak to more daily questions. I mean, I've had a few calls with Tawanda and some of the members who are not here, would just call me and say, hey, Tim, what do I do? How do I go about? I want to buy this coin. I want, where do I go? And those kind of things we can be able to manage, maybe within the Telegram channel, or even you can just reach out. I mean, I'm available, and I know the other members of the community who know something or two will be happy to help. I don't know if that helps in terms of, so we are not going to leave anybody behind. That's the message I'm giving, that if you do not know at all, we are happy to send you introduction, the first class, and then help you and hold your hand until you understand and you're confident enough to be able to take action. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I think Kevin.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I just wanted to say that the sessions we've had have been very helpful, especially in terms of just, building on that knowledge and the things that we've gone through the past few weeks. In terms of a suggestion, I personally feel like we need to maybe have another session on DeFi, because I felt there was a lot that was covered, and there's still a lot that can be unpacked. So maybe that could be a suggestion for the next module. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you feel that way, Kevin, because I actually, I was careful to say last week was just an introduction. The same here, it's an introduction to NFTs. So we're going to do and build on to say, you know, a class 201 or a follow-up class on DeFi, for example, because it's a whole monster in itself, you know, and just really help people to, you know, to make sure that that's more accessible to them. The same with NFTs and the other concepts that come along with it, even smart contracts and, you know, where that fits in and specific products and things that might be available alongside that as well. I'll take one more and then we will do the wrap.
Yes, Tim, Jeremy again.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see how one could maybe make it a bit more practical with members in the community who are currently invested in crypto on the various exchange platforms to kind of give us the positive sides, because we've talked about at some point we shared or people shared their experiences which were really maybe you know, on the negative end, like, you know, how you test the waters. But good to see practically how one is managing currently, and also practical in the sense of at the end of the day, if one is really invested in this cryptos, you really want to get a yield at the end of the day. So how has that materialized in practically for some people in terms of, you know, like Kevin mentioned last time when Diana spoke about DeFi, she definitely said there are ways to even monetize and receive your yields using cards, or, you know, there's this new access formats or means of accessing investments and so forth. So just to get a more practical and tangible presentation by those who are already in the game, so that it builds confidence for the rest of us, because sometimes we tend to have the presentations generally in life where things have gone wrong, you know, like please don't how is it going right? I mean, people can feel can just feel us in a bit and say, look guys, this thing is doable, and actually personally it's revealing, or it's been yielding some benefits for me, you know, and period of times and so forth. Then at least one gets an idea practically from people who are in our community that, hey, this thing is works, you know, it's not for the people outside of South Africa or outside of the continent, because I'm getting some news, like especially around West Africa and Nigeria, where the central bank has really gone crazy on people. It's like actually the issue was the remittances that the diaspora was bringing into Nigeria dropped literally because of crypto. So people are no longer passing through central banks. And it's a drastic effect in Nigeria, in Singapore, and some other Asian countries which are used to getting these remittances. So it really shows that this crypto business is serious, you know? So when one reads this news, then it tends to kind of put one off a bit and say, but hold on, what if now the regulators come in and they start messing this thing up, you know, type of thing.
True. No, thank you so much for that, Jeremy. And I think it builds on something you and I talked about. And I think, you know, so I'm going to take all of this on board and really see how we can package. Maybe this almost speaks to where we can really say, hey, this has been our experiences, we've seen it, this is how we've played it, and just really talk in the room and just say, hey, this is what we think. Because again, and probably that needs a conversation. It won't necessarily happen in a chat forum. And I'm going to chat to Diana and Julia and any of the other guys who I know have invested or are investing, and just really curate some of the experiences and the thinking. Because again, I was mentioning, or at least my observation is there's almost a certain rhythm and a certain flow, obviously based on where we are. I mean, that can change. And I think it could be interesting to share some of those insights as we go along the way. So I'm definitely going to include that in terms of what we'll incorporate in future sessions. Now, I do not want to close this session without allowing Mr. Ayubu to say something. I know you've been part of some of the sessions. Just any comment from your side. I mean, I'm proud to have my family here, including my babe here, which is nice. Babe, if you want to say something, of course you can say something. You're most welcome to say that. Ayubu? Ayubu, can you hear? I don't know whether you want to say something. I just thought to. Mushiri. Mushiri, do you want to say something? Okay, great. So I think, guys,
maybe I can say something now.
Yeah, sure.
I'm really for this session. I didn't know anything, but I've learned every day. I'm learning every Wednesday. I'm learning every just something I'm learning, and I'm grateful. I usually look forward to Wednesday so I learn a lot about this paper. And also, I want to say this. Maybe I can maybe back up with Jeremy when he says that we need a system for practicality for those people who have bought the coins, this crypto. We really need the practical sense of everything, what is happening, what what has happened, the process, everything. Now the practicality of it, the journey, how it has been, how you guys are taking, the monitoring the process, how it's growing, how it's improving, how the profits, how the graphs are growing up and up and up and up. They're not going down like, for example, Cardano is really growing. It's just going up. Polkadot and the others which are coming, the other coins are coming. So I really back up Jeremy by requesting that we have a session also in that. Also, if we can have more on DeFi as well, it would be great.
Yeah. Excellent. Wow. Thank you. That's a good way of summarizing it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that input, babes. Thank you. So, guys, I think with that, I'm going to wrap it up for this series. What I would just want to say is that we're probably going to take a pause next week. And then I'll communicate after what should really happen next. The thought that I have in the back of my mind, which I just want to share with you, is that I'm thinking also of making this, because I've just kept it private within the links that I sent to you, but I'm thinking of, based on some ideas that I think some of the members have shared, to just see whether we can really make this available in a bit more, to more people, maybe via YouTube, for example. So I'm thinking of, some channel, on YouTube, and just really to share this a bit more, whatever, because I think what we've been learning together has been amazing. Thank you, Bongiwe. Yeah, sessions have been amazing. Missed out on a few. Yep. Yeah, I didn't know much about crypto, but now I have a better understanding. Yeah, I would like to have an understanding of what affects the market, etc. Excellent. Wow. Thank you so much. That's really amazing. And that's a wonderful way to wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone. And for diligently being there every week and being here to support this idea. And I really appreciate the time that you've made. So thank you again. So yeah, I think that's pretty much concludes our session number 8. Until next time, I would want to just appreciate all of you, and we'll connect again. I'll send everything via email as usual. And then I encourage you to use the link to join the Telegram channel if you have not. But with that said, wishing you a beautiful and lovely evening until we connect again next time. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy Easter to everybody.
Yes, happy Easter.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Great. Excellent.